actually says that even right now, maybe there's like a train passing by across this building, and we don't see it because it's in another dimension. So that's the reality. They're there, we don't see them, but they act and they help us. Hebrews chapter 1, verse 14. Are they not all ministering spirits? So one of you shouted this morning before we start, they are ministers. So what does a minister do? It's a servant. They serve, they guide us, they assist us, and they do everything they can because they have been commanded by God. And so angels don't have a material, fleshly body like ours, and they have limitations. They're not like God. And did you know that angels also are stuck in one place at a time? They can't be in any place at the same time. They travel. All right, so they are here, and then they travel swiftly to another place. So maybe after the service, the angels that are watching over us here will be in another place. And then you see pictures of angels with wings. Do you believe that angels really have wings? Well, in the seraphim and the cherubim, it's pictured there that the wings of two angels are overlapping at each other. But then how about the servants? Like the serving angels, the ministers, the army. Now for me, I believe that the wings there represent speed. Right? The wings is a picture of swift travel. It's not that they really flap their wings, but they just travel fast. They're fast to obey the command of God. When God sends them from heaven, they zoom. Here, right here. And then go to another place, zoom. Zip, like that. You believe that? I'm not making that up. It talks about speed. So, not so much that they are literally wings that fly, but there is the spirit, their capacity to move very, very swiftly. They speedily move in obedience to God's command. 1 Corinthians 15:44, it says here that there is a natural body and there is a spiritual body. Now, while I was looking at this verse, I was thinking, this talks about our glorified body. Like when the Bible talks about your glorified body, you have your flesh, and you might not have blood anymore because blood represents weakness and rottenness. As long as you have blood flowing in your body, there's weakness, there's death, there's sickness. But when you have a glorified body, you have flesh, just like Jesus Christ. Remember, he can just go through a closed door and just appear all of a sudden, and then they saw him. They hold him, they touch him. That's a glorified body. So the angels, they don't have physical body, but they have glorified bodies. But then right now we don't see them, but sometimes they appear, especially in the Old Testament. But remember this, take note of this. When they do appear, and sometimes God chooses to let them be manifest, they always appear as a man. All right? Because if you Google and you browse angels, you see women like female angels. They always appear as a male angels. And I don't know the explanation about this for God, but then they're always being addressed as male. Strong, brave, swift, obedience. And the masculine pronoun is always used to speak of them. Now, we're not going to open to Genesis 18, but if you have time, Genesis chapter 18 and Genesis chapter 19. In chapter 18 of Genesis, 3 men appeared. And Abraham prepared a meal for them. And then he talked with them. They ate. They conversed with Abraham. Genesis chapter 19 talks about an angel that appeared to Lot and warned, maybe two angels, and warned Lot that Sodom and Gomorrah will be destroyed. And they were there. Even the men the homosexuals in the city, they demanded that they bring out these men. They thought it's men, but they're angels. And God just judged them. And I mean, they have the power. They just exercise the power. So that's what we need to hold on to. They were men. They sat down with Abraham. They ate. They walked. They talked. They were made visible and look on some kind of visible form. So they can appear and then they disappear. The Bible also told us that we have to be hospitable, because sometimes you entertain angels without even knowing. See, sometimes maybe you see them and then they will disappear. And sometimes angels are pictured as like really us, being in the form of like doing an angelic work. To prove that, there was a pastor back in the Philippines, in Palawan, who visited an American. I don't know if he's an American or European, but this guy is by himself. So he was in the hospital, and the pastor is visiting his members in the hospital. All of a sudden, he saw this young man, this guy, an American, a foreigner, by himself. No one is with him. He's like lying there. And then the pastor decided to stop by and say hi. And what do you need? I'm here to help. And all of a sudden, this person, by the time the pastor visited again, he's gone. He's not there. But then the pastor left his information, his name, his billing address, his home address, because they talk. They have a conversation. So when this man was gone, maybe he's healed, he went back where he is and his home. Then one day the pastor received a mail. And there's a letter there and says, "Thank you for taking care of me. And here's a check that I would like to give to you and your church." And that church became mega church. It's a big church right now, right there in Palawan. It's because the pastor took time to see a man who is a stranger. He didn't know. But he's not an angel, actually. He's just a man who responded to someone who helped him. So sometimes we do that to other people. So, whenever they appear, whenever angels appear, their presence produces amazing effects. It's not like there's so many lights, not effects in terms of, lights, but it affects the person that the angel was appearing to. For example, Mary, when Angel Gabriel appeared before her, the Bible says she was perplexed. She doesn't know what to do. And she was shocked. All of a sudden, there's a man talking to you and saying, "Hey, you're going to be the bearer of the Messiah." And she pondered this thing in her heart. And she was shaken. When Zechariah was told that he was going to have a son by the angel, he panicked and terror gripped his heart. When the shepherds to whom the angels announced the birth of Christ, they were terrified, right? Like all of a sudden, a host of angels were there telling them the Messiah is born. And the opposite of this is when the Roman soldiers in Matthew 28, when he saw the angel, he fell as though he was what? Dead. Well, that is very scary. That's a reaction. It's like his heart just stopped beating because he's so terrified. And that's the reaction of an angel. Scared to death. I heard that. He was scared to death that he fell like a dead man. So, those are the angels. They existed. They're real. They're here. But they were created. And they have personalities, intellect, emotion, and will. Let me just share with you. Maybe you've been, when is Pastor going to give an illustration about an encounter with angels? There's a lot of stories that you can read about an encounter or like angel delivering. One of the stories is this. It's been in a long time ago, but a missionary by the name of John Payton, a missionary to the New Hebrides. New Hebrides is in like South Pacific. It's an island, small island. And the people there during the time are cannibals. So they were missionaries there, John and his wife. He tells a story about some angelic care that he received or that they received in their lifetime. He said that one night, all of a sudden, wild natives surrounded their house. Like they were making this noise, like to scare you, and they're jumping up and down and giving this scary scream, and they were just like terrifying. And John and his wife knelt down to pray because they realized that they're going to die. There's no hope. I mean, they know. There's just two of them, and this tribe is just circling the house and jumping up and down and screaming. They knelt down and prayed and asked God that just for God's peace. But then soon after that, the noise stopped. Quiet. All vanished into the jungle. They were gone. According to Peyton's biographer, a year later, the chief of the tribe of that island became a Christian. He got saved because of their witness, I believe, of course. And John asked that chief of the tribe during the time after he got saved, and John asked, what happened that night about a year ago when your natives surrounded our little house there near the beach? And all of a sudden they left. And listen to this. And this is what the chief said. Well, because of all those men you had with you, we fled. Men? John said, it's just me and my wife. And the chief said, no, we've seen men, tall men standing guard, hundreds of big men with swords and clubs with them. And they encircle your home. So like the tribes were there encircling, and there's the men standing guard. Angels. God dispatched His legion of angels to protect His servant. Is that happening every day? No. But it happens. And it's not the first time that it happened. 2 Kings chapter 6, verses 15 to 16. Just to close this message with the reality that they're there. In 2 Kings chapter 6, verse 15 to 16, it's a story of Elisha and his servant. That one morning, his servant just got a surprise of his life. It says here that when the servant of the man of God rose early and went out, there was an army surrounding the city with horses and chariots. His servant said to him, alas, my master, what shall we do? We're going to die. Do we have the next? All right. So he answered, this is Elisha answering the servant, do not fear, for those who are with us are more than those who are with them. And the young man, I can imagine asking, we do? We have more than them? All right? And then this is what happened. And verse 17, and Elisha prayed, all right? And said, Lord, I pray, open his eyes, that he may see. All right? So that sometimes God will open your eyes to see the angel. Then the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. Amen? Yes. They were surrounded by this army, great army, ready to kill them. But then when God opened the eyes of this young man, he saw. So Elisha knew. He saw it because he has the eyes of God, and God opened his eyes already. So when the young man's eyes was opened, it's like, I don't know, it's not a movie, but it's real. So what happened? How do we apply this to us? Well, for us, if we have challenges in this life, we know that Jesus is with us. We know that God protects us. But He sends His angels to surround us with His protection. That's exactly what happened there. That's exactly what happened to John Payton and his wife. So when you are in a situation where you are surrounded and like real danger, you kneel down and pray and just trust God for what He will do. He will send His angels to deliver you. So now that we believe there's an angel and that they serve God and they also assist us. Did you know that when you are about to die, it's an angel who will bring you to the presence of Jesus? The angels are carrying you to the presence of Jesus. That's the opposite of the guy with a hoodie, dark, and with a sickle. You